Y'all ready to be history?
Get started.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
To the Pro Audio Suite.
These guys are professional. They're motivated.
Thanks to Tribooth, the best vocal booth for home or on-the-road voice recording. And Austrian Audio, making passion heard. Introducing Robert Marshall from Source Elements and Someone Audio Post, Chicago. Darren Robert Robertson from Voodoo Radio Imaging, Sydney. Tech to the VO stars, George the Tech Whittam from LA. And me, Andrew Peters, voiceover talent and home studio guy.
Line up, learner!
Here we go.
And welcome to another Pro Audio Suite. Thanks to Tribooth, the golden handcuffs can be removed, and Austrian Audio, making passion heard. Today we have a special guest. Matt Calrich is joining us because Matt and I have been having a little conversation about setting up a rig in your car, which was something I played around with a few weeks ago now. But Matt, you've done your thing as well. What have you done?
Well, I changed it up from what I've done in the past, which quickly is using the Apollo Solo and a laptop and usually the 416. Now for being at home in Canada and not actually, traveling on holiday, I just wanted to have something easy to get going at any given moment to just pull over on the side of the road. And so I used the Mic Port Pro 2, still the 416, and recording on the iPhone. So just really nimble and mobile.
Are you using Twisted Wave on your mobile?
Yes, until further notice.
Yours is very similar to mine because that was my experiment with the iPhone 15 because it's got the USB-C. And using the Twisted Wave app, it's fantastic. And you can actually use their kind of Twisted Wave Dropbox as well off the iPhone, which is really, really handy.
Yeah, it's great.
But the only difference between you and I think, is that you use the 41.6 and I've been playing around with the CC8 from Austrian Audio.
Right, well, he uses the 416 and you use the 41.6 sometimes, and now you're switching.
Yes, that's right.
Making sure.
And the other big difference is that you have a Tesla, which has a lot of glass.
Made
so
with
has that become an issue for you?
Yeah, well, I'm still in the early days of finding my feet with it. I only set up this new rig, so to speak, on the weekend. Got all the required parts, which was the idea of being able to have a mount in the car that I can just attach the mic and the.
How did you feel about drilling into your Tesla, or is that glued in there?
I didn't. It's glued, and
glued.
Yeah, and I also just kind of drive my Tesla like a piece of shit, so I don't really care. I just drive it like a car. So sticking something on the inside,
it's not precious.
Yeah.
It is no longer precious. It is now a utility vehicle, and it's used for what it was designed for.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Putting double-sided adhesive tape on the inside of my Tesla is probably not the worst thing that I've done to it so far.
So you're not going to mount a M49 from that thing?
No.
Since it's now technically a recording studio, does that mean your car's a tax deduction?
You say that like I don't already try to claim as much as I can. Yeah, that's a good point, Robert. Yeah, I wonder how much else I can squeeze out.
My new recording studio just happens to be on 4 wheels, that's all. So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, if anyone can play it, George, probably if you can, I don't know. Now would probably be a good time to have a listen to the audio Matt sent us.
I can do playback over here if I...
Oh, can you? Okay, yeah, cool.
Okay, here's me recording in the car on a 416, the Mic Port Pro 2. There's a windsock on the mic, and there's a pretty significant humming sound, which I'm sure you can hear. That's the car. I don't know how to turn it off. It's an electric car, so that's something to work with. But the setup is nice and it's convenient. So now I just have to work on.
And so here's the treated one.
But the setup is nice and it's convenient. So now I just have to work on fixing things like the car sound and the whirring. But I like the concept. Just have to try to get it sounding as good as possible.
So I'm guessing you were pretty close to the mic there.
Yeah, pretty close. And then what I added later was a pillow M1 one take, and then I brought in a moving blanket on the other.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was pretty close to try and like offset the carriness. Maybe a little too close.
Putting the pillow like behind you someplace, or
the pillow was wedged. It was two pillows actually, because they were small pillows. Wedged in the front screen,
the window.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the moving blanket I had just draped over me like a villain. It was not comfortable, but more for like a testing perspective to see what it changed.
Do you have one without all that extra stuff?
That was the first one.
Yeah.
That was the first one. Okay.
Yeah, they're remarkably similar, actually.
They are,
it's
aren't
not
they?
bad.
They are. Yeah.
You know what makes me laugh though is if this takes off, if this becomes a trend, you'll be able to go to the local mall and realize who's a voiceover artist and who's not, because the car of the voiceover artist is going to have blankets and pillows and God knows what on the back seat.
Or they're just living in their car, which is another story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And a really weird iPhone mount for a stick.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
It's going to look entirely
I love
nefarious.
the gooseneck. I love the gooseneck attached to the ceiling. Finding adhesive that would mount that strongly enough to hold the weight of the mic and the mic port, and the gooseneck itself. It's a decent amount of weight. So
do you put the mic port right on the like the mic right on the mic port? Do you use a little adapter like we got like Andrew got?
Oh no, I just assumed that Andrew's was directly plugged in.
It
I think the 416 and the 416 and the OC8, they're all too thick at the base to fit into the newer mic port Pro 2.
The 416 fits, and the
it
NTG5 fits.
And
because
only the OC8.
And the CC8 does not.
Sorry, CC8.
Yeah.
What a stroke of luck. Yeah. And I also have the Rode NTG5, which Andrew and I were talking about when I was in Australia. And so I'd be interested to try that in the same situation.
I used the NTG5 in the back of my car, the first test I did before the CC8 got here. And it sounded great.
You probably get the same result as the 416, I would suggest.
There's a bit more bottom end to it. That's the only thing.
I bet.
Yeah. I also found the NTG5, it seemed more sensitive than the 416. I don't know.
Yeah.
It
has a much higher output.
Yeah, no, because I was in Mexico hanging out with Dustin Ebor, and we had my Tribooth there and kind of our gear combined, and we tried both the 416 and the NTG5 with exactly the same gear, just switching the mic, and it was quite different.
Yeah. There's a huge amount of output on the NTG5.
Right.
My NTG5 is at the mailbox waiting to be picked up because they replaced it.
Oh wow,
they did.
That's cool. Yeah,
I'm the only one left
time.
with one that didn't blow up, I think.
Mine blew up.
Yeah.
No, mine didn't blow
like
up.
Robbo's, George's. Andrew, did yours blow up?
No.
Don't use it. It won't blow up.
I had a sphere mic blow up in Australia.
Really?
I took it all the way to Australia, thinking how great it was going to be having that mic with me. And then I got there and was absolutely perplexed for a while why it wasn't working. And it turned out to be a busted capsule. And this was a brand new sphere.
You know the problem with that, mate? It was actually a northern hemisphere and you're in the southern hemisphere. That was the problem.
Oh, my God. You are unwell.
Well,
seriously.
David Kay traveled with the sphere to Japan, and I just thought it was risky because it is a much more fragile mic than any small diaphragm, shotgun or pencil mic. Small diaphragm shotguns and pencils are much, much better travel mic companions.
Well, the shotguns are made for like one of the things about the 416 is go record in the wind.
Well, in a rainforest.
Right. The whole
can take
MKH
a 416
thing.
to a rainforest, yeah.
Right, because it's working like as a RF microphone instead of directly off the...
Yeah, well, as does the NTG5. It's
the
also
NTG5
RF.
is RF?
Yeah.
Really?
So, any mic with an RF design is basically completely impervious to moisture.
Yeah.
So that's why they're used. But as for the capsule blowing up, what was the outcome? Is that mic still sitting in the box or
they replaced it, I bet.
I haven't replaced it yet because replacing it in Australia when it was all happening was just silly business. So I've waited until I go back to Canada and then promptly didn't do it. It is a secondary sphere because I recently got a new Apollo unit and they threw in one of the new ones for free. And I thought...
Oh, was it the DX?
Yeah.
They threw in the small one?
Yeah, so it's a bit
How
small.
do you find it compares?
It has less of a capsule working. I like the smaller size. I mean, it's not hugely noticeable, but I'm excited to try it. But
so the one that you traveled with was this new smaller edition.
Yeah. And I have a pretty good travel bag. Like I hear you on the the durability of those large diaphragm mics. But I've managed to find this. It's a camera bag and it's got a good hard shell and it's a backpack. And to the chagrin of my engineer, took an X-Acto knife and just like cut out the foam in the sphere comes with, and I just shoved it in this camera bag, and it feels really well protected. But then again, maybe I smashed a capsule when I was traveling and it's not as protected as I thought.
Oops.
Oh, any dents?
No dents, no.
Is this like the torque? Yeah.
I'm expecting them to replace it. Like it just sounds like faulty. Yeah.
But it'll be interesting because I picked up the different microphones, the Ocean Way and the main one, I think. I did those two. I forget, but
the Sphere models.
Using it, the Sphere models, but I'll just use it with the 818.
How's that working out?
I haven't touched it yet.
Oh yeah, I haven't either.
It's just color, but I figure it'll just be like color. Even if the Sphere mics are somehow accurate.
I would imagine. I mean, that is something we have not done yet. We haven't done an OC818 versus Sphere mic sound. How do they sound compared to each other?
How different is the OC818 through the Sphere 47 clone compared to the Sphere?
Can you swap in an OC818 if you don't have a Sphere, or you just don't want to bring the Sphere because it's so physically large? Can you just plug it in?
It would work with any truly dual output large diaphragm mic, you would think.
Yeah, because there's a couple others out there, not that many, but Sennheiser has the new MKH. I think I saw it at NAB. I believe it's called the 800, and it's a dual output mic.
Dual output, both sides of it. Yeah, and then Loughton has one, and Pearl has one.
It's becoming a thing.
It is.
I was thinking that when they can get them to the size of something like an NTG5 and shorter, that'll be a huge game changer to have a modeling mic that you can travel with, especially if it has the tech that the Sphere has, where you can kind of mitigate problems with the room. In real time with those sets.
Oh, the Sphere has like the reflection filter built in.
George can probably explain it better than I can. The isosphere.
I don't get.
Oh yeah, well they have a set of these filters in the Sphere plugin itself that are designed to compensate for acoustical flaws.
With using
for lack
those
of a better word.
Reflections. Okay, that's what it's for.
And so they're just little curves they came up with. But they made it very user-friendly. Instead of having it like be a variable knob, they just have a whole bunch of like, click on this picture. If it looks kind of like what you're sitting in front of, then try this, which is cool because it's just one less thing to have to think about. But the thing is, there's just a setting for booth.
Yeah.
Which clearly is not going to work because everybody's booth is a different size.
Yeah.
But
although I'd love to see the EQ curve for the Chaotica eyeball.
Well, I did look at the MKH 800 Twin. It's called the 800 Twin. It's a bit spendy at $3,200. But if you want a very small 2-capsule microphone to travel with, that one could fill the bill. It is very small.
A very old microphone that few people know about is the Neumann KM86. It's a small diaphragm or small-ish diaphragm. But dual-sided, full polar pattern selection. It looks like a tiny U87, I think, kind of thing. I believe, if I remember right. But it
looks like a German hand grenade. That's what it looks like.
The KM86.
Yeah,
but it's a multi-pattern small diaphragm, so you could, if someone modded it to have more than one output.
Well, have you thought about or even wanting to bother with using? Did you say you try using your Sphere Apollo combo in your Tesla or in your car? You've done that now or in the past?
Not in the Tesla. I did. Yeah, I have taken the Sphere and a Solo and my laptop as the travel rig to Australia.
You did that in the Ferrari, right? Or was it the Lamborghini? I can't remember. Which one?
Yeah.
The Ferrari has this humming noise thing. When it's on, I guess it just does that.
And unfortunately, the people at the dealership didn't like it that I took my gear and just sat in their car and started taking photos. It just wasn't appreciated for some reason. Nor the guy whose Tesla I stole this afternoon.
Exactly.
And glued a mount.
The only thing the guy did is he glued this thing. Is it a tractor?
I brought him some alcohol swabs. He'll be right.
Yeah. I've worked out what the humming noise is in the Tesla.
Oh, really?
It's the Musk hydroponic mode. You've got to turn that off.
Hydroponic.
Grow mode.
I think Robert's on the hydroponic mode right at the moment, isn't he?
I am. Hold on.
Fantastic.
Well, I was asking because I rigged it up for David K. We did the Sphere on a mount. I got him this crazy over-engineered, cobbled together arm. It's basically, if anybody from lighting knows what a baby arm is, but it's basically, it's an arm with a clamp on each end. So one clamps to the steering wheel or yoke or whatever it is in that car. And then the mic mounts to that. And it also has a place to mount your phone or tablet to read your script. And that whole thing rigs off your steering wheel with that huge mic. And then we put the mic sideways. That's what we found worked best, was because it's so large, to get the capsule in the ideal spot. We just have it literally sideways. And he's running a U67 model, because that's the mic he would typically use at home. And the clients were happy with it. I was amazed.
Yeah, that's great.
I didn't think it was going to work with that, because we didn't put a pillow or anything up against the windscreen. And it worked out. But that's a Model X, which is physically larger inside. So I don't know if that helps. I don't know if it's because the windshield's so long.
Yeah.
Because, the windshield's facing down. It's not really facing you.
Yeah, it's not going to hit the microphone.
Exactly. The sound's going to go down to the dash.
Yeah.
So
it's it's directly behind and directly in front of the mic. I would think that's the first sort of issue.
I guess with my setup that I did most recently in the Tesla, I am more like talking across to the passenger seat rather than directly at the windshield.
So pillows stuffed into the windshield opposite the mic.
Yeah.
Would be one spot.
Yeah. And I was thinking of taking some of the Tribooth blankets and hanging them from the coat hooks or the handlebars on the side, and seeing how that works out. They're quite long though, the Tribooth ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're big.
You could nail gun them to the roof.
Or staple them or something. Yeah, exactly.
Super glue.
3M will just laugh gleefully as they see me coming. Yeah,
exactly.
Sell this guy so many sticky squares.
But it's funny, isn't it, how different your environment in the Tesla is to my car, which is a smaller car, 2 doors, tiny in the back. And I just squeeze in the back, and because I've got no glass roof, so I don't have to worry about that.
How'd the Vespa setup work?
Yeah. It's hard getting your head under the seat, but I'm working on that.
No glass roof to worry about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're starting with a difficult proposition with the glass ceiling, aren't you? It's a killer to begin with.
So what do you do to the audio after you record raw files? And do you just record raw files and send, or do you do any cleanup?
Well, yeah, herein lies the problem that I don't have access to a DAW. It's just it's just Twisted Wave Mobile.
Yeah.
But I also tried to think about, what I actually wanted this setup to do or to achieve. And it really is just for the ants in the pants stuff that people can't wait for, and for auditions and quick turnaround jobs. But when I'm here in Victoria, and I'm not at my home studio, I'm about a 40-minute drive to downtown. And in downtown Victoria, I do have a small commercial studio that I own, and it has a Studio Bricks in there. So it's not too far to get to either one of those. So I didn't want to go overboard with the car rig. And if I'm proper traveling, then I'm usually taking the Tribooth.
Yeah. But also, to be fair, mate, as an engineer, I'm guessing Robert would agree with me on this, that if you sent me that file, I'd have no issue.
Run it.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd have no problem.
Even with that hum, Sevox seemed to take it out pretty well. I don't know how much how artifacty it got after that.
It wasn't too artifacty. Yeah.
The twist of a knob on clarity, that'd be gone. So really, that's no issue. Yeah, absolutely.
That's another good question, because I was talking to a client about Sevox today, and I said, Sevox does make it sound really good to you. The question I guess I have really is, does it make it sound good to the engineer? And how much time? I mean, Robbo and Robert, how much have you heard audio through Sevox that you've received on your end?
If I've gotten it, I don't know that I've gotten it, but I
wouldn't know.
Had any at all.
Yeah, I've certainly never.
It's pretty transparent.
Yeah.
It is really transparent. That is the magic of that plugin. If you go all the way to the walls, you might start picking up some, go 100%. You might pick up some very small artifacts, but it's amazingly transparent.
Yeah. And more dynamic outside sounds as well. I was recording at my parents' house in Australia, and some inconsiderate person was mowing their lawn. And
it's always the way.
Yeah,
one of your parents.
And one of my parents. Sevox really, made a pretty good show of the recording. Even with it kind of like moving around different areas. I guess like a mower is still that lower frequency, but
it's kind of droning.
Yeah, and it's a consistent sound that's easier to get rid of.
There's not too much Doppler with it unless you have like the fancy riding lawnmower.
But there is two laws in life that if you wash your car, it will rain, and if you open a microphone, the neighbors are going to start doing something noisy. So there's two guarantees in life, right?
That's right.
Have you ever had anyone pick up you putting anything across their audio?
No, not for a long time. Even running the modeling preamps in the Apollo unit, I keep it all very sparing. Like I just want to get the the color and the tone of the preamp and just bring in that difference rather than engaging any of the hectic EQ or compression. I like to think that I follow a lot of the principles of what you guys say on this show. Just like keep it simple, send it on clean, and start with a really good bass. Obviously, that's harder to do in the car and when we're traveling, but I still just when I travel, I want to as closely mirror what I have here as possible.
Which is tricky.
You're not running through like a bunch of like boutique outboard gear.
Right.
No.
Right? At home.
This is and the preamp is just the Apollo pre, right? It's just solo or.
That's right. Yeah. I have all Apollo units. I used to have a 6176. The UAD is that the numbers are right? Yeah, I had that and I ended up selling it because it felt like too many moving parts, and modeling it in the Apollo unit was so impressive that I felt like I'm going to sell this thing.
So are you using more than just the mic models? Are you using the preamp models as well?
Yeah, actually, at the moment, I'm just using the twin preamp, but generally, I will run. I'll do a lot of my recording on the Sphere, and either
what's your go-to emulation on the Sphere? Like, what's sort of default?
The 41.6, and then I have a couple that I dial into for different types of reads, like if I'm doing trailer or something grittier. You know how they came with some presets from Jordan Reynolds made some, and then Brent Allen Hagel?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. I like one that Brent did for trailers, and it's actually a combo. I suppose I can switch to it now.
By the way, how they got onto the preset list of that company, I'm wondering how they pulled that off.
Jordan lives in California.
Because I've been dealing with them for so many years, and I've never gotten anything like
That's
that.
Crazy.
But anyway, I'm not jealous. No, I'm just very glad that the service is available. But I'm like,
I would like to see you on there.
What
well, at least he's giving away his presets for free.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no props to them. I think it's cool that they're available. What's something you're using?
So yeah, this is the trailer setting from Brent Allen Hagel, and I don't actually know the proper brands because they can't list it, but it's the LD 800.
So that's the Sony.
Yeah, but then it's combined with the 47K.
U47 K capsule, I guess, something like that.
Yeah, the K47, isn't it? K47.
That's cool. So that's what we're hearing now.
Yeah, that's right. And I think I'm printing this. Yeah.
It enrichens.
That's it.
Adds more richness.
Yeah.
Have you taken the 416, sorry, put it in the second channel with no preamp or no emulation, and just like put it right next to this one and record the exact same thing?
I have meant to try that. No, I haven't yet. But to my ears, my simpleton ears, they are really, really close. And I do have 2 416s. Obviously, the one that's in the car now, and I have a sentimental 416, which I'll never sell. But I mostly am using the 416 setting on the Sphere, and then I have a U87 AI just next to me here, and I've hung on to that mostly for workflow purposes. I kind of have one mic that is hooked up for, I guess, like quick auditions and quick rip and reads, and then I have the Sphere that I'm talking to you guys on. It's over here with a music stand looking out the window. It's just like a nice little zone.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah, a few creative spaces.
We're actually talking about our next episode now, aren't we? We've drifted into the next episode.
We have.
Yeah.
I wonder I wonder how they do the polar pattern, because if you think about it, the 416 being a shotgun, you can really only get that polar pattern from the physical shape, and they can recreate any polar pattern with the large diaphragm, but you'll notice a large diaphragm mic never has a shotgun. I mean, you kind of have a hypercardioid. Do you find the 416 emulation to be a little bit more forgiving in the movement, like the polar pattern?
Yeah. Can you move around the mic and it doesn't sound quite as phasey and weird?
Yeah, so I've switched now. Now I'm on the 416 emulation. I just did the click of the mouse. And it's on, which pattern is it on? The cool thing with the it's on cardioid, on a cardioid pattern.
It's on cardioid.
And now it's on hypercardioid. So if I'm talking off axis.
And you can hear how it jumps forward. You can just, even on that.
Put it on the Omni.
Put it on Omni?
Flat,
sure thing.
Yeah.
Here you go. Oh, there we go. So that's Omni.
As an Omni 416.
Yeah.
If anybody wonder what that sounds
it's
like.
like a cute curve of a 416 without the proximity.
I mean, the acoustics in the booth are fantastic. So even when you're on Omni, it still sounds really
actually sounds
like
nice.
Focused.
Yeah, right.
Clear,
Yeah, so here's me kind of doing like direct address. My mic is above, hanging from the roof and from the ceiling. And it's tilted maybe, what is that? 40 or a little over 40 degrees down towards me.
More vertical than horizontal, or more horizontal? Than
more vertical than horizontal, I would say.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, that's a pretty steep angle.
Yeah, I've been meaning to play around with it, just to see what different sounds I get out. It's this one is set up partially for the way I am at the music stand, or though I guess I could change it. But then the U87 that I have just over here is that's more horizontal than vertical.
I think it just shows how the room acoustics are so important.
So big.
Because if you'll notice when he switched through those patterns and tried different mics, they all sound really good. So it just comes down to these shades of mauve.
Yeah.
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 Who consulted on this booth? Who was that?
Oh, I'm not trying to plug myself.
No, I'm plugging you.
But yeah, that is the
I think
point.
it would have been funnier if you dogged it.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
No, it's just great hearing a booth that I helped design, out of just hearing it years later or months later, whatever, and just hearing it used in this pair of headphones that I'm wearing in this situation and going, wow, it sounds good in there. That's just so important. Everybody get those acoustics nailed. And then you can really enjoy the variety of microphones, and it's like getting a taste for wine, and now you can enjoy different kinds of wine, and I don't have that.
I do.
I'm not saying I do. But once you do, then you can enjoy like a $10, a $50, a $100 bottle. It's like that with mics. If you don't have that taste in your ear and the room dialed, you just can't enjoy the subtlety of differences from these different models and comparisons, all that stuff.
Andrew, I got a question of curiosity for you. Do you find that traveling after being in your space, it's a bit of a head trip? Like, do you have any association with the sound of your home studio that is hard to shake when you're traveling and working in these, less than desirable conditions?
I find it slightly disconcerting, I have to say. I do find it a bit sometimes difficult, but it's a necessity, as you know.
Yeah.
There's always that
Does it take you like a day to adjust?
No, it's it's a weird thing. It's kind of you doubt everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we always doubt everything anyway, but it gets heightened when you're not in your booth because you're so used to coming in every day and doing this stuff in the same environment that all of a sudden you're in a hotel or somewhere with a Tribooth or whatever you're using, and psychologically it sort of sends you a bit edgy, makes you a bit edgy, I think.
That's it.
You're waiting for something to go wrong.
You are.
Yeah, or for the engineer to just like flip a chair on the other end of Source Connect. And the reality, like what you said before, Robbo, about the recording in the Tesla, it's fine, you could work with it. And for me, it really is more of a psychological effect, which I have to then try and keep out of the read and any auditions that I'm doing, or, and just not let it bother me on the session, because it can really, like, it feels like a different space that I'm not 100% comfortable in. And when in reality, most of what, like, everything that the engineer is hearing on a live Source Connect session while I'm in the Tribooth, they're like, yeah, it's fine, no problem. And meanwhile, I'm shitting a brick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This
is why I keep saying it's the black belt of voiceover recording. I mean, working on the road and trying to completely get the performance and the nuance and the confidence that you have at home and transplant that into a random location. This is not academic. This is not simple. This is like, it takes a ton of practice. And even with experience, it's still off-putting.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind when you're like, I need a travel kit.
Yeah,
I have to say, do an unprompted plug for you guys' sponsor. That's one of the biggest things that I find makes a difference with the Tribooth, is that you're not crouched over a hotel bed with a pillow fort over you and, at a 25-degree angle, or, your knees are up in a tiny little car. Like the Tribooth really simulates, it replicates that experience of my space at home. Like it's much smaller, it's tighter, but it really, I feel like I can be myself from a performance element, and I think that's really important, in sessions, but really in auditions where, we're working with making things 5% magic. And so how do you achieve that 5%? It's really like, it's mindset stuff. And I think, having a comfortable space is so important.
I think, but I agree with you, because the same for me with the Tribooth. If I have the luxury of being able to take that case with me, I find it just so much easier that you can get inside something. You're not always concerned or trying to find a blanket or whatever to hang on the wall behind you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just so much easier. And plus you're standing up and you're moving. So it feels like you actually are in your own booth in a kind of way.
I just did a 2-hour travel voiceover class for NAVA last week, and I had two main categories. One was never checkers and comfort of homers. And so it was like, which category are you, and then what's the situation? So I've been leaning a lot more into the whole ergonomics concept, because you can emulate the sound, but can you emulate the experience of voice acting from home while you're traveling, and the comfort and everything that you just said? Can you do that?
I think a lot of voiceovers still book outside studios.
Oh, totally.
I think when possible, right?
You mean like when they're auditioning outside of...
When they're traveling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think, there's just so many intangibles as to what books from an audition. And my thought is, why not control what we can? And, that was why I invested in my booth space. I wanted it to be bigger. I wanted it to be comfortable and have the ability to move around. Because that for me, it influences how I feel when I'm auditioning, and it's like a comfortable space to come into to work. Because sessions are easy. Sessions, you've already got the job. So, you show up and you're in this sand pit of, it's this controlled space where the job is happening and you just have to kind of go where they need you to go. But I think auditioning is much more challenging in that sense.
I find the other way. Like the audition thing doesn't really concern me that much, particularly. I mean, because it's so subjective anyway. You're either going to get the job or you're not going to get the job. You put your best foot forward. But I find if you're traveling and you're doing a remote session, via Source Connect or whatever, I find that more nerve-wracking because if you're not in your environment, you're just waiting for something to go horribly wrong, and the beads of sweat are dribbling down your back.
That's just the Australian
heat.
Session.
Andrew, we're going to get you a shrink.
No, I totally agree. I had a session when I was in Australia where we were doing. There's a documentary series that I'm on regularly, and I usually record it in here in my booth. And specifically on the U87, and we replicate the same settings every time because this engineer just has the way that he wants this to continue on because we've done it so many times. And then I had to do a session when I was in Australia in the Tribooth, and the beads of sweat were flowing generously because I'm trying to replicate that sound. And this is when I had to, as a story for another day, but I bought the NTG5 out of reaction to that. Well, I already told you because the sphere was broken.
The sphere died.
And so I'm like, okay.
It's been too long of an interview because you've already forgotten about what you said at the beginning. That probably means it's time to wrap this up.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm trying to get an NTG5 to match well enough a U87, and it was nerve-wracking.
That's tough.
It's
Definitely.
funny, because I've got one client that I work with in Dubai, and he never listens to the raw audio that I send him. He just puts it straight in and hits process, and then he starts working on it. So every time I contact him, if I'm away, it's like, I'm not at home at the moment. How was the audio? He goes, sounds the same to me. That's bizarre. It just doesn't care. I'm sweating it, and he's like, yeah, it's cool. It's all good.
Every production is different. Every engineer is different. Their degree of pickiness or their agreeableness.
Yeah.
I'm making up words left and right.
I like
agreeableness to just get the job done. They're like, it's good. I could split hairs, but I'm not going to. Let's get the job done. That's going to be the attitude of the engineer.
Yeah, I think you got to pick your battles. I think, think there are times where you're going to go, okay, look, this isn't great. Can we redo it? And then there are other times where you just go, you know what? I need to get this out. This needs to get done. I can fix it. It's going to take a bit longer, but just deal with it. So, I think you just pick your battles. You're right.
Really, if you like, we're talking about the Tribooth, not because Tribooth is a sponsor, but we're just talking about it because both Matt and I use them. I don't have any problem. I've never had bad feedback from doing stuff in the Tribooth.
Yeah, look, I mean, Matt Calrich or Andrew Peters or Lofty Fulton or, anybody else you care to name who's been in around this industry long enough, in a Tribooth or in a, perfectly tuned room is perfectly acceptable, really. I mean, because they know what they're doing. They know that if they hear it, they're going to go, oh, hang on, that's not quite right. I'll get this sorted and get it sounding as best I can. I think you run into issues, and this isn't poking a finger at anybody, but it's people who haven't been around as long, or are in slightly substandard rooms already, and just sort of go, here it is. I think that seems to be the issue.
Yeah, and I think there's also that I don't really care.
Yes, there is that. Yeah, there is that. Okay, well, just pay me now. Yeah, exactly. There is that portion of the market as well. So I think look, the old adage, probably you get what you pay for, I guess, is where we're going with this, right? Really, I think.
Yeah. That's why they don't pay me.
Yes, that's right.
Well, that was fun. Is it over?
The Pro Audio Suite, with thanks to Tribooth and Austrian Audio. Recorded using Source Connect. Edited by Andrew Peters and mixed by Voodoo Radio Imaging with tech support from George the Tech Whittam. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and join in the conversation on our Facebook group. To leave a comment, suggest a topic, or just say g'day, drop us a note at our website, theproaudiosuite.com.